My name is Blake Everett, and this is my presentation on Bots 2. So this is the short version of Bots 2. There is also a longer version, but basically Bot 2 is a collection of tests and tools that can assess and track the overall motor skills of a certain individual. Now this test is designed for individuals from the ages of 4 to 21. And basically, the short version follows the same principles as the full version, but condenses the items into 4 assessments: fine motor control, manual coordination, body coordination, strength and agility, and the total time to administer all of these is 15 to 20. So what makes up the scoring? Scoring basically consists of kind of two things. The raw score of the performance, and then it's going to be the point score, and then you add all of those up and it gives you your combined score. And some materials that we're going to need for this is going to be a paper and a pencil, coins in a bowl, a clear space, chair, a straight line, a beam to stand on, a ball, and a tape. So the Bot 2 validity basically is the short version too condensed to be compared to the normal version. Well, according to Carl Gabbard, the author of the Lifelong Motor Development book, there is a correlation of 0.8 between the short and normal version, and we can further see this whenever statistically looking at a number of different studies. The Bot 2 short form does not provide any significant difference in results versus that long version. And in the Bot 2 test, is it even a valid way to test for motor development? And in this study, it says that yes, it is. It's one of the premier instruments when testing for any lack of motor development and just seeing where people can be at. And it's trusted by physical therapists and occupational therapists. So the participant is my roommate, Peter Helms. He is a male and 20 years of age. He is Caucasian, 6'4", and he suffers from ADHD. So the first test, which I can play while I'm talking here, is drawing crooked lines through a straight path. And I'll zoom in here in a second, but basically his task is to just kind of maneuver this maze. And there's a bunch of different crooked lines that I drew on it to make it try to be harder. And he actually does mess up. He receives a score of 1 as he only went outside of the lines one time. And basically, again, remember that with the Bot 2 test, this is not going to be like 1 plus 1 plus 1. There is a certain amount of scores per each one that's going to kind of balance it out. So then the next one, so continuing in that subtest, is folding a piece of paper. I have drawn on that piece of paper a number of different lines that he needs to fold, and this is him doing it. And you'll see that he scores a 1 as 2 of his folds crossed inside of the lines that I actually did. I told him to do it as fast as possible, and this is kind of where we were at, and that's the last fold that he does. So I'll go on to the next one. And then start of the subtest 2, it's copying a square and circle. Basically, it's a variation of different shapes and different sizes. And he scores a 5 because he pretty much gets it exactly right. Not much issue there from him. I'll wait to let him finish on the video. And then continuing on with the subtest 2, he is copying a star, and Peter received a score of 4, as one of the corners of a star has a gap that is wider than about 1/8 of an inch. You'll see it kind of near that very end. It just kind of breaches into the center. And during Peter's first trial, he put 13 pennies into the bowl, and he has 15 seconds to do it, and so he does it twice. The first one he puts 13, the second he puts 9, and he has a total score of 22 out of 40. However, for the purposes of this test, he is just going to be taking the lowest score. And I can go ahead and show a little bit of that. Moving on. And Peter received and so for this one, his job is to, I caught kind of the last end. Oh, it's not even that long. It's just jumping with his arms, moving in the same time as his legs. He gets a 5 because he does it 5 times in a row without faults. The next one is he has to tap with his finger and tap with his foot at the same time. And then whenever I say switch, he has to switch, and I'll say switch whenever he does it 5 times. And if he does it without messing up, then he gets a score of 10, which he did. So good for Peter. The next one is walking forward on a line, and basically the test is walking forward with 6 steps, and if he can do it without falling off of that line, he gets a score of 6, which he did. The next one, he has 10 seconds to stand on a little beam. It's hard to see the beam in this photo because we had to go outside for it, but he does it very easily, and so he has a score of 10. The next one is Peter has to complete a certain number of hops in 15 seconds. Not a certain number, excuse me, but just as many as he can. And he completes 31 hops in 15 seconds, which gets him a raw score of 31. So then Peter has to drop a ball and catch it 5 times in a row, and if he can do that without dropping it, he receives a score of 5, and he does that pretty easily in this one. Then for this next one, it's alternating dribbling, and he actually took 2 tries at this. You are allowed 2 attempts for this one, but that second one he did. He got 10 consecutive times of switching, earning him a score of 10. Next, one of the hardest ones that he had to do is 30 seconds straight of push-ups, and he completed 27 full push-ups in 30 seconds without only 1 stop. So that earns him a raw score of 27, which I think is pretty impressive. I don't know how many I could do. Awesome job from Peter. And then the second one, for the strength portion of it, is doing as many sit-ups as he can in the span of 30 seconds. And Peter does 23 in this time, which again, I think is pretty impressive. These are all pretty good. And just to clarify, as we're about to go into kind of the results slide, these scores that you're seeing are just the raw scores, but will be converted into the point scores, which I'll go into a little bit further slide. So the results of all of these raw scores that Peter got, we do have to convert them into a point score, and so I provided an example because each test has its own specific point system. So Peter completed 23 sit-ups, but he was awarded 6 points according to the point scale, and there's a range of 21 to like 27 is 6, and all of these have their own, so each test has their own point to raw score ratio. After converting all of Peter's raw scores, his total came out to be 65, which the maximum number of points for the BOT2 short test is an 88. And so recommendations that I would have for Peter or someone else that took this test, specifically having to do with Peter's performance, is you can see he scored very, very high on a lot of the fine motor portions of the test and a lot of the balance. But whenever it came to the strength portion of the test, he left 7 to 10 points on the board every time. And so what I would say, if Peter was a patient of mine, is repeat this test every day or every night at a certain time. So you can just set it up in your room. And what this will do is it will establish that neuromuscular connection, so where he can form those muscle memory movements, and he can strengthen the muscles that are required to perform those tests. And then these are my references. Thank you.